Good afternoon. It is the 10th of April, Wednesday, 2024. And looking at it before us, we have a game that's been a long time coming. It's should have done something on this game before now, but for several reasons I have not. Uh, but here it is. We're going to do this. This is the fall of Rome, the barbarian invasions, 100 AD to 500. Anno Domini. And the game is, well, let's go ahead. It was designed by John Young, who seems to do all his design work at SPI in the time of and by I believe he dies in 1978. So we haven't had him for some time. This game itself is 1973, and a lot of neat parts about it, and we're going to get right into it. As it says here, well, first of all, as you can see, it's the old SPI flat pack, I guess is what we're calling it, and it's just a terrible size to put in a shelf. It's a terrible size to try to do anything with, but it is what it is. It is was first published in S&T number 39, I do believe, as the game packing game with it. It is, for me, one of the more important games in our hobby because, as far as I can tell, and as far as been related by John Young himself, this is the first solitaire game, war game, designed to play solitaire by one person. Now, I've tried to, if you look at the terrible, again, don't use Wikipedia, but if you do, look at the terrible article on the solitaire war games, which is a subsection of the war games in Wikipedia. It'll tell you that maybe Operation Olympic by Jim Dunnigan in '74 was the first solitaire game. That is just not the case. This is earlier than that in every measure and every metric, right? It's come before Operation Olympic. Now, I've also tried to get Jim Dunnigan's an interesting guy. He's still with us. He's still alive. He's still, making his ideas known. And I've tried to ask him on a couple of occasions about solitaire games and if this indeed, as far as he knew, was the first. And every time he gets on about solitaire games, or the couple times I've seen him get on about solitaire games, he kind of goes this stream of consciousness and really doesn't answer the question. Gets off on, well, we were doing surveys with our customers, with our subscribers to S&T, and we learned that a lot of them were playing the games by themselves. So we thought about solitaire games, right? That's pretty much the answer he's given. And, yeah, that's probably a good answer, right? But John Young himself, in these designer notes within the Fall of Rome, within this game, will say that it is the first solitaire designed game. Although it wasn't meant to be. It was meant to be a two-player game, and they realized in play testing that the barbarian player basically did nothing but able to make no decisions, just the die roll, right? That's the only thing that he was doing. So, there you have it. You have the first solitaire game, and which is an important thing because I think a lot of us, myself, look, I play a lot of solitaire, and it's not that I like solitaire more than multiplayer games or two-player games. It's just that you get together once a week, twice a month, something like that, the most to play with somebody else, 3 or 4 times a month maybe. We're all busy. And in the meantime, what do? Well, we play solitaire games or we play a two-player game solitaire, something like that. So they've always been important for me to have a solitaire system, and the games that have solitaire systems, I just get that much more. A two-player game with a solitaire system, I get that much more um, benefit out of it. So solitaire games do mean a lot to me. I play them. A lot of people don't like them for whatever reason, but I do, and I think they serve an important function within the Wargame community. And being this is the first one of them, man, it's that's kind of neat. Okay, you see, it's as what we've said, it's that old SPI flat pack, which is terrible. Let's try to open it here. This was the blurb from the back of the box. The Fall of Rome, the Barbarian Invasions, 100 to 500 AD. It's going to tell you a unique single-player game. Area movement by land and sea. Absolutely, it's area movement. Rebellion, revolution, bribery. Already sounds fun, right? The greatest empire the world has ever seen was neither built nor destroyed in a single day. Very true. The process of disintegration and collapse suffered by Rome took place over more than 5 centuries. Land indeed can trace its cost to the very start of the empire. The lack of a workable constitution and mechanism for the transfer of power, the corruption of the army, the dissipation of the economy were some of the many contributing elements in the empire's slide to chaos. It went the way as all empires go, right? That's the interesting thing. Rome, at the time of the Battle of Cannae, what did they take? Something like 90% casualties? And Hannibal thought he'd won. And yet, they fielded an army very fast. People couldn't wait to volunteer to fight in the Republic period, back in the Republic period, right? And a couple centuries later, you see it becoming illegal to cut the thumbs off of your child, or so he wouldn't have to serve in the imperial army, right? And then later they even say, okay, we're taking 2 people, conscripting 2 people, and if they don't have thumbs, every 2 of them are just going to make 1. So, yeah, people are trying to get out of service then, right? So, yeah, empires bloat. They get big and they get used to just running every day, and they really do disintegrate. And we're not going to talk a lot about the counters. The counters are the counters. They're okay. They're functional. They're functional old half-inch counters. That's fine. We do want to look at the map, though. So, very interesting period. You know, though, it was so true. Rome wasn't built, neither was it destroyed in a day. It took such a long period of time. Look, the power seat of the empire had moved pretty much from Rome proper to the east, to Constantinople, in the time of Constantine, right? The 315 or whatever. So the power, 325, let's say, just to make that a date of also, that's from Nicaea, I guess, but that's fine. 325, we'll use it. I'd been in the east, been in Constantinople, but the old city and the Western Empire still important for a lot of reasons. The Eternal City, you know, and it was sacked several times, right? Alaric and the Visigoths sacked it in 410, and they were given the Iberian Peninsula, Spain, and Portugal, right? But yeah, piecemeal. Later on in the 400s, you were going to have from about 410 to 434, 438, forget, have the Scourge of God and Attila, right? You got a lot of other barbarians too. Well, we could get into all of them, but man, it's quite a bit. The Vandals and so forth. So all of that just bearing down upon Rome. Not to mention the Germanic tribes just were almost unstoppable, in the end. But Rome had became that bloated power, and it falls in 476. I guess is the date, September 4th. I guess 476 it falls. Although my favorite emperor of all of Rome, people always ask you talking about Rome, what's your favorite emperor? My emperor is the emperor that comes much later, that comes to power in the 500s, and that's Justinian. And Justinian, from in the 500s, takes back the Western Empire, and for a short time connects East and West until probably an outbreak of the plague that they battled. Then that falls eventually. That doesn't last, right? And even in Justinian's time, it doesn't last. But for a moment, East and West is once again back together. I thought that was that's a neat story. But here's the map. Anyways, I digress. We're talking. Here's the map of it, and you see it's a map of typical old Rome, and it's going to have barbarian invasions, and it's over 4th century, so it's going to go piecemeal. It's going to go piecemeal as it should. Some people will tell you the game proper. Some people will tell you the game's broke. It's not broke. It's playable. It's a playable game. You're going to have problems playing though. If you're an experienced wargamer, you're going to have no problems in making certain adjustments. No problem. You'll be able to play it. It is highly procedural, as a lot of war games are. And these instructions are going to make you want to die, as it is in a page form like this. Just hate this. Just hate this. Avalon Hill did something similar with what is that? Siege of Jerusalem, if I'm not mistaken. Don't like how the rules are laid out in this way at all. Let's look at the combat. I forget what combat's like. The game was redone about 25 years later in the 90s by Joe Miranda. I don't think there's even a separate category for it on BGG, but he smoothed out some of the rules. He made it a little bit more playable. And if you can get your hands on that 96, 97, 98 version of Fall of Rome, it is worth your while to do that instead of trying to fight with this one a little bit. But let's go to the sequence of play. Okay, it's going to tell you a little bit here. Can you imagine? This is sequence of play, such an important thing, especially in solitaire games. And this stuff is just coming up as a solitaire game. This is it. This is the first one, man. Fall of Rome is played in turns called game turns. Okay. Each game turn is composed of a fixed number of phases which occur in rigid sequence. Means stick to the sequence. Each game turn is exactly like another, and these follow one another until the game length follow one another, and these follow another until the game length. Till the game length, the number of game turns is indicated by the scenario is finished. Yeah, there is. That's an interesting thing. We look at scenarios. How many scenarios are there? And there's more than one, which is kind of cool. All right. Let's go. Scenarios and how to use them. There are. Let's look at the scenarios before we get into that. Just as you can see, the problem with looking up something in the rules in 2 page and has 2 leaves, big leaves. Scenario 2, okay. Fall of Rome. Scenario 1, 67 AD. Roman controlled provinces. Okay. Scenario 2, 247 AD. Wow, very cool. Let's look and see. Scenario 3, 260 AD. Okay. Scenario 4, 332 AD. Where's scenario 5? I see 6. Scenario 5, 420 AD. And scenario 6, 530 AD. All right, so she's got 6 scenarios that you could play kind of like a campaign, right? I guess. You could play them one right after the other one. So there are 6 scenarios, yeah. Which I do like that. I like that a lot. How that's done. Of course, the designer's notes. That's getting into John Young talking about the game being the first Solitaire game, how it was accidentally found. Replacements. Let's find the sequence of play. Back to this play sequence. It is not on the map, man. I guess this is it's done by Redmond Simonson. The graphic design is, but I guess the combat results table, barbarian creation table, internal revolution probability table, but I don't see a sequence of play. Man, again, you're in uncharted territory when you're doing something first. That comes up. Sequence of play. Rebellious Roman legions. Very cool. How many legions will you have? Hun barbarians, German barbarians, Scythian barbarians. Well, let's go second one, the Hun barbarians. Third, in a sequence of play, is the German barbarians. Fourth, Scythian barbarians. Fifth, Dacian barbarians. Sixth, Pictish barbarians. The Picts were always a group that I enjoyed learning about. Painted men, right? Tartarian barbarians and independent states regular units by number. Wow. Okay. So really, you just are fighting back these barbarians that are appearing. Control, rebellious Roman legions, independent states, militia, treasuries. It's cool. Replacements you're dealing with a little bit. So you really are. You're in control of Rome. You're playing the emperor, trying to manage against the barbarians coming at you. Movement. What was movement like? Movement kind of strange if I remember. During the non-loyal Roman movement phase, the player must move all non-Roman forces as directed in the non-Roman movement rules. That's the kind of the headache of some of the SPI rules. It's non-Roman movement, right? But here it is. I just was wanting to get it out there. I think it's important. A game this important to the wargaming hobby should have a video. Look, I've played this game a couple of times. Not this particular one. I have the S&T version. I don't have the Joe Miranda version. I thought I did, but I don't. I have an S&T version I played. It's an okay game, but you have to get this sequence of play down. You have to get it down and get into the play and really understand what you're doing. Because if you don't, the more you play it, if you decide to play it, the more you play it, the better it becomes. It's not one of those games you can play once or twice and say it's a good game. Now, if you play it just one time, you're pretty much going to think it's going to suck. I think you really need to get a sequence of play down, and the sequence outline, and know what you're doing and move each time, right? Internal revolution phase, non-Roman and non-loyal Roman movement phase, non-Roman and non-loyal Roman combat phase, and loyal Roman movement phase, loyal Roman combat phase, legion rebellion phase, control determination phase, barbarian attrition phase, tax collection and disbursement phase, Roman Persian replacement phase, barbarian bribe phase. Yeah, that's cool. And the game turn record phase. So if you get all those phases down from A to, what is it, N, you memorize them and you know what to do in each one of them, it can be a decent game. This is not one I would say SPI, I made a whole thing, SPI games that I did not like. And this is not in one of them. This is a game I kind of like. I kind of love the idea. And I kind of like the sequence and just learn to play. And once you start playing it, once you start getting it, you think, okay, we're okay. All right, that's it for today, folks. I thought an important video, important game to talk about, and you can pick it up for minimal cost. It's not a very expensive game. You can find it anywhere on eBay, maybe even at a local con if you're looking through old S&Ts. If you can pick it up for a good price, do so. I think you'll enjoy it. Get a kick out of it if you don't enjoy it, right? No, enjoy is a hard thing to say. It's just so much. There's just so much wrong to it as the rules and the map's a little funny feeling because it's that newsprint, right? That pulp map. But yeah, I think it's worth a spin, especially if you get the Joe Miranda version. It's worth a spin. So y'all have a great day. Talk to you soon. And yeah, let me know. Have you played it? What do you think about it? It's either... there's a lot of people that hate the game. I don't think it's a despisable game at all, though. I think it's okay. I think it's interesting and a piece of historical, in its historical context, I think it's interesting for being the first solitaire game. All right. Y'all have a great one. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.